Hello everyone and welcome to this week's newsletter. This week the college celebrated Reconciliation Week. Our weekly Monday morning staff prayer took place in our Indigenous garden, which is just beside the cricket pavilion on Zampatti Oval, and where the recently commissioned sculpture of Bunjil holds pride of place. Later in the day we held a full school assembly. Like most of our assemblies, it was almost entirely conducted by students. Speakers included boys with Aboriginal heritage, Torres Strait Islander heritage, and many from non-Indigenous backgrounds. The key message of the assembly was that reconciliation is about strengthening relationships between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and non-Indigenous peoples of Australia for the benefit of everybody. As I listened to the students speak, I was reminded of a review of the college in which I was involved in about 2007. And one of the recommendations of that review was that the college should do more to engage with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community in Geelong. At the time, I think there were only 4 boys of Indigenous heritage in the college. And I remember that the initial reaction of the leadership team here was to wonder whether in fact there were many Indigenous families in the region. Over time, we've come to see more families come to understand that their boys belong at St Joseph's, and we currently have 18 boys of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage enrolled, and they add so much richness to the college. The Assembly also reminded me of our achievements in this area, but also of how far our nation still has to go in achieving full reconciliation and equality for all Australians. One of the great joys of my role is to be able to connect with leaders of other similar schools. And last week I had the privilege of attending the Edmund Rice Education Australia National Conference. And I'd like to just share a little bit of the content of that conference with you. The theme was "Look out the window to the key." And these were words spoken as a challenge to Edmund Rice when he was planning to join a monastery to flee the sadness of a dead wife and disabled daughter. The speaker challenged him to do something for the poverty-stricken, uneducated boys who were hanging around the Waterford docks. He accepted the challenge, and a few hundred schools later in 1935, St Joseph's, as we know it today, commenced. The conference presented 4 stories chronologically. Firstly, the 13.7 billion-year-old story of our universe and the intimate web of interconnectedness and interdependence that it generates. Then, the story of Australia's First Nations peoples, which began about 60 million years ago with the dreaming. Then, much more recently, the 2,000-year-old gospel-based story of Jesus bringing the reign of God into the world. And finally, the story of Edmund, on which our college heritage is based. It was a really beautiful way to reflect on our place in the world and the role of our schools in it. Locally, and more recently, our local story is a heritage of service and care for the Geelong community. A school and a teacher's house was built on this site in 1854, followed shortly after by a corrugated iron church. Then an orphanage in 1857, a sandstone church in 1858 on what's currently O'Driscoll Oval, later demolished in 1900. St Joseph's College version 1 opening in 1890, then closing in 1893 to support boarding at St Patrick's Ballarat. St Joseph's remaining closed until 1935, when Brother Butler became the first principal, enrolling 128 boys. We now express this service and care with our 4 touchstones of gospel spirituality, liberating education, justice and solidarity, and inclusive community. And we can see all of these in our heritage of 85, or perhaps 167, years of education here. And finally, as I prepare this newsletter, changes are afoot in the COVID space with some government regulations coming into place. May I take this opportunity to remind everyone that any student with COVID symptoms should be tested and remain isolated at home until they receive a negative result. If a member of the household is symptomatic and has been tested, but the student has no symptoms, he may continue to attend school. And of course, for any student unable to be at school, an outline of work for each class is available to them to ensure that they don't fall behind with work. If there are any further matters we need to communicate with you about COVID, we'll do that via the normal channels. In the meantime, stay well and God bless.